LSU star receiver Kayshon Boutte has officially declared for the 2023 NFL Draft, and today we're going to take a look at his prospect profile to determine what that means for his NFL future. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Debbie Royale YouTube channel. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and comment what you think about Kayshon Boutte as we go through this prospect profile. This is a series. We've been doing this for a couple of months now. We put out a video every day, so we would very much so appreciate your subscription. Today, we're talking about Kayshon Boutte as he is declared for the NFL Draft just a couple of weeks after he said that he was returning to school, which is an interesting point that we will get to throughout this video. If this is your first time watching the prospect profiles, we talk about the numbers, we talk about the scouting reports, sometimes we give an NFL ceiling comparison, things like that. So let's dive right into it. Kayshon Boutte by the numbers, 18.3. That is an important one. That's one you'll hear a lot from analytics-driven folks, people who base a lot of their evaluations on numbers. That's his breakout age. That's a very good breakout age. Anything under 19 is considered an elite breakout age, and he did so as a freshman. He caught 45 of his 76 targets for 735 yards and 5 touchdowns. He averaged over 16 yards per reception. He was a big play threat. He was a playmaker. We saw a lot of what he could do within an offense that they definitely threw more, but he was definitely more involved on the outside as an outside wide receiver, which brings me to this next point. 72.1% of snaps in slot. Over the next 2 years, he slowly moved inside and got more comfortable in the slot. And in the Coach O era, we did see the slot receiver being the focal point of the offense for the most part, right? So Justin Jefferson comes to mind. Terrace Marshall saw a little bit of time in the slot as well. So that was something that you could expect from that iteration, the 2021 iteration. But then in 2022, that 72.1 was by far the highest percent of snaps that he saw in the slot. We'll talk about why that may be in a little bit, some of my concerns with his game a little bit. So we'll dive further into that one. 1.49 yards per route run, not good. Not good at all. So analytics driven folks are really going to like his breakout age. They're going to like how early he produced, and some of them may look past the lack of efficiency later in his career. A lot of those folks take like best season production. I think that's fair, but it's worth noting that he was not very good in 2022. It was a very slow start to his year. There were rumors that he was going to quit the team after the first week because it was just really bad. And the first four games that they played, he had under 100 yards total receiving. He kind of bounced back week 7 against Florida. He had 6 catches for 115 yards. That was kind of his breakout game of the year. And then we really saw just kind of mediocre performances until the conference championship game, where he saw 11 targets, caught 6 of them for 107 yards and a touchdown, and a really dynamic touchdown as well. And we'll talk about that in the scouting report too. So, but it is worth noting that on an efficiency basis, Kayshon Boutte was not very good in 2022, and he wasn't very productive. He totaled just 538 yards, 48 catches, and 2 touchdowns. He only got 2 touchdowns in 2022. All that to say, number 7 jersey number. For those that don't know, LSU gives the number 7 jersey to the best playmaker on the team. So who they believe is the best player. Patrick Peterson wore it. It doesn't matter if it's offense or defense, but it is an honor. And Kayshon Boutte did wear that in 2022. So it is worth noting that people around the team regarded him as a playmaker, even if maybe the targets and production didn't quite reach that level or reflect that, I guess. Let's get into the scouting reports. So strengths, we have yards after the catch ability, fluid athlete, aggressive at the catch point, and good body control. Weaknesses, though, lacks production, inconsistent releases, off-field junk, which we will talk about, overall physicality. Let's start with the strengths. Kayshon Boutte is an immaculate yards after the catch receiver. He can make a big play out of nothing. You saw if you go back and watch the conference championship game, or even look up just his touchdown from the conference championship game, he's outrunning a ton of guys that are about to be in the NFL. The Georgia defense is still loaded with a ton of NFL talent, and he makes them look silly. And that is a lot of the draw of Kayshon Boutte, is how he can just make plays. He can be that guy that creates explosives for your NFL offense. And that is something that I think NFL teams will really enjoy. That is mostly because he's a fluid athlete. He's very fast. I think he's going to be a workout warrior when we get to the combine. He's going to test very well. LSU wide receivers tend to, but he's in that special category. He's not Jamar Chase, but he may be the athlete of Terrace Marshall, who is an incredible athlete and also lacks some of the production. So, I think maybe we're looking at a somewhere in between the two in terms of what their NFL ceiling is. But we'll talk about that shortly. Aggressive at the catch point. He may not always be the best at the catch point. I think there are times he has inconsistent hands when he's going up in 50-50 situations. You'd like to see him. He's not a big guy. I mean, he's only 6 feet tall, 205 pounds, but he plays much bigger than that. And he can go up and get the ball because of his athleticism. And I think that aggressiveness is going to turn into big plays at the NFL level. And then body control, that all kind of ties together, right? So he goes up and he gets the ball, and he can kind of contort in ways that you see some elite NFL wide receivers contorting their bodies to make things happen. He does a really good job at that. Weaknesses, though. So lacks production. Like I said, analytics folks are really going to like his freshman year, despite, it was okay. Like, he broke out for sure, but it was still only okay. He caught 59% of his balls. He didn't really receive great grades from PFF ever in his career. The way we saw Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, other LSU wide receivers receive those grades. And from an efficiency standpoint, like we've talked about already, he just wasn't that good. And I think it's something to be said that Malik Neighbors was good despite having Jaden Daniels at quarterback. I think that lack of production is a large reason why he decided to declare now, though, because Jaden Daniels decided to come back. I think that's important. I don't think that he liked playing with Jaden Daniels, because Jaden Daniels is not a very good thrower of the football. His on-target percentage is atrocious, and he just was not efficient. I think that matters. I think Jaden Daniels is an awesome college quarterback. I think Kayshon also saw, Malik Neighbors in the room, and then LSU was going out and getting wide receivers. They got Aaron Anderson from Alabama, who was highly touted as a recruit. And so I think Kayshon looked at that and said, I'm not sure I can improve my draft stock, so I'm just going to go ahead and declare now when I feel like I can make the most of this. I think that's smart. I think it's a really smart decision to come out in this class, especially considering those circumstances. Inconsistent releases. So the reason I think they moved him into the slot is because while he did win on the outside as a freshman, it was mostly on go routes. It was mostly on those big plays. He doesn't really have a really good repertoire against press man coverage. I just don't know that his release package is really refined all that well, and I don't think that he's getting the development that he needs at LSU. So that's another reason why I think this is a smart decision. I think that he's going to go to an NFL team if he's coachable, which I think there are definitely questions on if he is or not based on what we've seen. But if he's coachable, then I think that Kayshon could end up one of the best receivers in this class. As of right now, though, he's probably top 5. I think he's my wide receiver 5 currently, but I wouldn't classify him in that, contending for first round talk even. I don't think he has first round film. I'll say that. Now, he may be a first round athlete that a team decides to take a chance on, and I think that that's understandable completely. But I think that the release packages, and honestly, we can tie in the route running too. I think there are times that he can be lazy as a route runner, and I think that a lot of that comes on the types of routes that they were asking him to run. I think that he's a good enough athlete that he will learn to run routes in a much better way. Um, Off-field junk. I put this on there. I don't really wanna, knock the kid or say he has character concerns. He had a lot going on. He had a baby this year. There was a lot of stuff happening in his life. He was battling that injury. It's really tough for college kids to come back from injury, in a sound way. Some people deal with it differently, but it's worth noting that, after week 1, he removed all of the LSU stuff out of his social media, and, there were rumors that he wasn't quite where he needed to be in the early stages of the offseason. Brian Kelly kind of called him out. I think that there's definitely something to be said about that, plus the process here, the process of declaring later after saying, I want to go win a championship. But it's worth noting, I think we'll find out more. And if we don't, I'm not super concerned about it. I think it's fine. I don't think that you have to worry too much about it. And then overall physicality, this kind of ties into his releases. Press man can kind of push him off his routes pretty quickly, pretty easily. I do have that concern about a lot of guys, but for him, especially 6 foot, 205, he's sturdy. He's got a good frame, but he doesn't play quite like that. Um, I said he plays bigger. He plays bigger when he's going above the rim, but when he's just on his feet, I think you can push him off his routes a little more than you would like to for a 205-pound receiver. So, just some notes on the weaknesses. Now, in terms of what his NFL ceiling is, he's tough. He's very, very tough. He's definitely going to be a boomer bust prospect. I think he ends up going in the second round of the 2023 NFL draft. I think that some teams are going to like other prospects more. We had a discussion on the Football Guys College Football Show this week about Zay Flowers versus Kayshon Boutte, and you kind of look at their profiles and you say, well, Zay's older and he had later production, but also we have seen the production. We see the yak ability. It's a very similar thing. He's just a little smaller. I think that some teams are going to have him ranked lower based on the off-field junk and the laziness, and then the release packages. I think he's got to refine that. He's got to show that he has more than just he has a little stutter, but he really could not consistently get open from the outside. And I don't know that teams are going to take a receiver that's confined to the slot as highly as some people think. So in terms of his NFL ceiling, he's not Jamar Chase. I don't think he's Terrace Marshall, even though Terrace Marshall has kind of come on. I think that he can have a good rookie year. I think, like a Rashad Bateman level prospect is even a little higher than I would put Kayshon right now, which is a bummer because when you watch his film from his freshman and sophomore year, you see what he can be if he develops. We just haven't seen that development. I think it's easy to project that development forward, but it's often that these things just don't come to fruition. So while he is an early breakout, while he did kind of take the world by storm his freshman year, I think it's worth noting that he does have some weaknesses. I think NFL teams are going to see those weaknesses, and I don't know that we're seeing a surefire first round prospect here. That being said, in dynasty rookie drafts, I think he's as safe as really any after the top 3 to 4 wide receivers. I think I'd take Jordan Addison. I'd take Jackson Smith and Jigba. I'd take Josh Downs. Who am I? Quentin Johnston is the other guy that I'm forgetting. I did a profile on him. Go check that out. But I would take those 4 guys very clearly ahead of him, I think. And now landing spot does matter. If Kayshon Boutte goes to a team like the Bears in the late second round, I think you're looking at, maybe you do bump him up into that first tier of those top 4. I don't know. But I do know that Kayshon Boutte has a ton of talent, and I hope that someone can kind of develop him into being a really great NFL receiver. I think that he does have an immense ceiling because he is so physically gifted. There's a reason he wore number 7 at LSU. But we'll see what happens. Until then, like I said, I do these prospect profiles every week. Let me know who you want to hear about. Drop a comment. Make sure you like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. We'll talk to you guys next time.